JTG Daugherty, or, well, I guess we can still call it that for a little bit longer, is expected to lose Kroger in 2024, or I should say 2025 and beyond. They're expected to lose their major sponsor of Kroger. Now, where could this sponsor go? That's the question. There were initially links to JGR, but all of a sudden there's been a twist, and it's now looking like it's RFK. Let's read this report from Adam Stern. RFK Racing is being tipped as the likely landing spot for the Kroger Company's NASCAR sponsorship next year, according to industry executives close to the matter, a pickup that would represent a major commercial boost for the team co-owned by the Fenway Sports Group. In recent months, Cincinnati-based Kroger has been talking to teams in NASCAR about a move next year as part of an expected ownership shakeup at JTG Daugherty Racing, the one-car team that it has been with for over a decade. JTG's longtime majority owner, Tad Geschichter, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, is said to be part of the shakeup that could involve him parting ways with the team after the season. Geschichter has ties with Joe Gibbs Racing, which led many earlier this year to think he and Kroger were heading to JGR after this year. However, while Sports Business Journal was unable to establish whether a deal had been signed or verbally agreed to with Kroger and RFK, 5 industry sources familiar with the matter said they expect RFK to win Kroger's NASCAR business. Later down the line, it says RFK did not respond to requests for comment. Kroger Racing, the racing program run by Geschichter's brand activation maximizer agency, declined comment, while Kroger Company said, "We continue to remain focused on the 2024 season and are looking forward to seeing JTG driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the Kroger Camaro make the playoffs. There are no additional comments to share at this time." So let's talk about that first part because it impacts the next part we'll talk about. But Kroger, yes, they have been at JTG Daugherty, as this article said, for over a decade. They were with JTG Daugherty for their first win at Watkins Glen in 2014. They were there for the Daytona 500 in 2023 when they won with Stenhouse. They've been there forever. They've sponsored multiple drivers, Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, AJ Allmendinger, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They've been a big supporter of that team. They've been the big financial backer of that team. But now with this expected ownership shakeup, it seems that they want to go elsewhere, or maybe this is the cause of the ownership shakeup. But Geschichter seems to be the big player in all of this in terms of him being with the connection to Kroger there, and Kroger being a major company, having a lot of money they want to use to sponsor a team and help grow their own brand, their own business. They are now looking elsewhere, and obviously, no disrespect to JTG Daugherty, but as I just listed both their wins and their time in NASCAR, it seems they want to go to a more competitive team. Maybe I'm just overthinking that part, but obviously RFK Racing, they have a car in the playoffs this year. Chris Buescher both cars were in the playoffs last year. Chris Buescher won 3 races last year, so that would make sense. And then obviously the JGR thing, even though it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, I don't have to explain their resume. But it seems that they could be moving, and this could impact RFK because Brad Keselowski has not really been secretive on expanding in the future. Obviously the 2-car operation, and then there's a third part-time car that they started up, the Stage 60 car. We've seen Joey Hand in that car finish second or third, fourth. He got top 5 at Chicago. We've seen David Reagan in that car, Cam Waters. That's kind of like their version of the Project 91 car. But they have shown that they have a third car. They're capable of doing it. But in order to run a third car, to run a third team, to fully operate, fund, pay people to build a third team, you need some money. And yes, RFK has a lot of great partners. They have a lot of sponsorship. They've always had sponsorship, whether it's Fastenal, Fifth Third Bank, the Hawaiian buns. I forget the official name, but the really good pretzel buns. That's what I know them as. Castrol, whoever it may be, they've got a deep lineup of sponsors, but to add a third car, you'd have to spread your resources pretty thin and, the sponsorship. But with this potential Kroger deal coming through, if it does indeed happen, that could be a big impact and a big help to the financial, if you want to expand the financial thing. So then later on, it says RFK has 2 NASCAR charters, with Buescher driving the number 17 and then Brad Keselowski driving the 6. We already know that. By landing a sponsorship as sizable as Kroger, some industry executives have wondered whether the team could expand to 3 cars. The team could work out a lease agreement to get a 3rd charter for next year, as long as a new charter agreement continues to include the leasing option. RFK is one of 6 teams this year aligned with Ford Motor Company, and it has an alliance with RFK Racing, a fellow Ford team. So yeah, that's the big question. As I said, Brad Keselowski, he has not been secretive. He wants to build Roush, what was formerly Roush Fenway Racing, back up into a powerhouse, a competitive team, a championship-winning team. And they've taken a big step. Remember, it was not that long ago they could only win at super speedways. They were missing the playoffs on a consistent basis. But ever since Brad Keselowski came in, and, that first year was the next-gen car, which kind of really reshuffled the pecking order in a sense. I know Hendrick and Gibbs and Penske are still the top teams, but we've seen some new blood emerge in a sense. RFK won a race in 2022 with Chris Buescher. I know they missed the playoffs, but Chris Buescher won a race that year. 2023, Chris Buescher won 3 races. They both made the playoffs that year. This year, Brad Keselowski's won a race. He's in the playoffs, and Buescher's on the bubble, and it's been a slight step back. It has not been a massive collapse, but they've definitely taken a step back from 2023, but they've still had a solid season compared to what they were just 4 or 5 years ago. So when you put it into perspective, they've made large step forwards, and another large step forward would be re-expanding, I guess, if that's the proper term. And there's a lot of questions that come with it. One, could they do it in terms of, financially? And Kroger would be a huge answer, because some of these big name sponsors, they pay tens of millions of dollars to sponsor a car all year round. Second would be, my question would be, would it be like for that 3rd car only? Would they only sponsor that car? Or would it be like a family Dollar Tree kind of sponsorship over at Legacy Motor Club, where they have a deal that they sponsor every single race, but it could be a different car. Like one week it's the 42, the next week it's the 43, and then when Jimmy Johnson races, they put it on his car. So would we see it on the 6, the 17, and this 3rd car? So, we could come up with all kinds of questions. But then how competitive could they be? Would this hurt RFK? Would it hurt their competitiveness? Or would it actually be a positive thing? Would it help build them up even more and help them achieve greater things? Having more data, having more people, more brains in the system. What could it do for RFK? I think that's another question. And then the next question would be, who would drive the car? I'm not going to lie, I did not expect the name to be tied with this, but Stern mentioned Ryan Preece in his tweet. It says nothing about it in the article, but in his tweet, he did mention Ryan Preece. It's interesting, because if this were to happen in 2025, then obviously you don't really have that much of an option base right now. You could go to Xfinity, pick up a young driver, but there's a lot of things happening there. You're opening up a 3rd team, and now you've got a young driver, so everyone is learning stuff that's new. And as I said, we're at the time of year where everyone's kind of figured out or is about to figure out what they're doing next year, and Ryan Preece is one of the guys who has not figured out what he is doing next year. He has yet to sign a deal. I think he's the only Cup guy left in the Stewart-Haas stable to figure out what he's doing next year. I don't know. I don't think he brings that much funding to the table, but if this Kroger deal's in place, then he fits right in. The question would be, how competitive could Ryan Preece be? I think one of the big benefits if this situation comes to fruition, if Kroger pays tens of millions of dollars to RFK to put their logo on the hood, if they open up a 3rd car, a 3rd team, if they put Ryan Preece in the car, I think the big thing here is that he's a veteran. He's been in the Cup Series. He's had 5 full-time seasons under his belt. He's been at JTG Daugherty, ironically. He's been at Stewart-Haas, and you're going to look at the numbers. The numbers are not impressive, but at the same time, The teams he has been on at the time he was there have not been impressive. JTG Daugherty, not a playoff team when he was there. And really, they've never been a consistent playoff team. They've only made it twice. Stewart-Haas Racing, when he got there, that was when they were kind of on their downslope and they were already a good bit down. Remember 2023, that's when he's joined the team. Stewart-Haas Racing has not won a race since he's joined, and that's not his fault. All 4 cars have struggled. But on the counterpoint, he's been the lowest of the 4 cars in the standings, or the third of the 4th lowest. So there's going to be a lot, if this comes, once again, if this happens, there's going to be a lot of questions. Why Ryan Preece? He hasn't done much in his Cup career. He's won a couple Xfinity races. He's won a couple truck races, but in his Cup career, he hasn't done anything. Well, the counter argument is he hasn't had a chance to do anything because he hasn't really been in competitive cars. So there's a lot of different arguments. And once again, I don't think people will see Ryan Preece's name, and that's not the flashiest name out there. It's not the big hire you want to get, but I think considering the situation, it's a decent choice. Once again, he's a veteran. He's got some years under his belt, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. But then another question, once again, we always talk about this. When one question gets answered or is about to get answered, it opens up like another 5 to 6 questions, because here's what we think is happening. Stewart-Haas Racing is selling their charters. They had 4 of them. Well, Gene Haas decided to keep 1 of them. So now we're down to 3. Front Row Motorsports has already announced that they got a charter, and though it hasn't technically been confirmed, we know it's Stewart-Haas. So now that's 2 left. Well, for months now, it's been reported that it's been 2311 and Trackhouse who are going to get those charters. Shane Van Gisbergen is the leading candidate for Trackhouse and Riley Herbst for 2311. But, this one over here, 2311, that doesn't seem to be as confident anymore, I guess is the right way to put it. Because Riley Herbst, according to Chris Knight, said he doesn't know what he's doing in 2025 and he hopes to get that figured out shortly. I'm no expert, but that doesn't sound too confident. But as I said, for months now, it's been that Riley Herbst has been the leading candidate over there, and maybe 2311 does obtain a charter from somewhere. We're all narrowly focused on the SHR charters. Those are being sold. Those are available. But what if someone else is trying to sell a charter? What if Rick Ware Racing's trying to dump a charter? And, Rick Ware Racing, they got that connection with RFK. Maybe they're giving them a nice little discount there. And then also the next question would be, what if they just straight up, now that RFK has this Kroger money, what if they just straight up threw more money at them than 2311, and 2311 said, we can wait an extra year. We can wait an extra 2 years to expand. So, as I said, there's a lot more questions coming with this thing. There's a lot more questions that get opened with this potential signing of Kroger to RFK. So, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If Kroger goes to RFK, will they expand? First of all, will they expand that quickly? Like, will they be ready for a third full-time team in 2025, or are they going to wait it out a bit? And then if they decide to expand in 2025 and go to a 3-car operation, who's in that third car? Ryan Preece, is that a good choice? Would they go elsewhere? Would they look for someone else? So many questions in this thing. And of course, a charter deal needs to be done in terms of all that. And, report just came out like minutes ago that the teams are once again not satisfied with the latest offer. So the negotiations go on. Yay. Anyways, that is all I have for you today. We've got Michigan this weekend. I hope. I don't know. It doesn't look good weather-wise. Anyways, I don't want to end this on such a sour note. Let me know your thoughts on the topic that we talked about today. RFK and Kroger, will they team up? Will they expand? So many questions to be answered here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.